Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Donna Roper-Roach, and I want to thank Dr. Vera for inviting me to present at the Stakeholder Presentation Series. My topic today is legal and ethical considerations in digital education. In terms of an agenda, we're going to have a brief overview, ethical considerations in digital education, then we'll talk about legal considerations in digital education. We're going to look at some trends in digital education, and then we'll have a state case study where we're going to kind of draw out some of these ethical and legal considerations. We will kind of conclude with a discussion on the key considerations, and then we will end our time together. I think we have about 30 minutes for this engagement. Um, the evolution of educational technology has been a journey marked by innovation and transformation. From the early days of chalkboards and printed textbooks to the current era of digital classrooms and interactive learning environment, the tools and methods used in education have continually evolved to meet the changing needs of society. And those of you that have been in education for a very long time can attest to this. And just living over the last 20, 30 years, we have all seen the evolution of technology generally, and more specifically in the education space. The integration of technology can be seen in education as it democratized access to information. So no matter your social or your economic status, all individuals have access to information. It breaks down even geographical barriers, no matter where you are located. Access to information is accessible. The asynchronous nature of digital learning environments offers flexibility, accommodating diverse learner styles and schedules. We have seen the entrance of non-traditional and students coming back into the classroom online, specifically distance learning, because of the flexibility of schedules, and digital tools. Interactive elements make educational content more engaging. Adaptive learning technologies leverage data, analytics to tailor educational content, students' needs, and preference, and personalize learning in experiences for students. So let's just talk about trends, and I don't have these in any order or in any category, but as they resonate with you, I want you to just think about how education has changed as a result of technology, introduction of technology. Today we have predictive analysis and the tools that come out of that work primarily with our learning management systems, whether you're using D2L or you're using Blackboard. We have data-driven analytics. The amount of data that's stored in these systems is just remarkable. Artificial intelligence for content creation, also used by students, is a new trend in digital education. Cybersecurity, there was a school in the Huntsville area a couple of years ago who experienced a cyber attack and was shut down for a couple of days, and they had to revamp their whole information infrastructure and add and strengthen their cybersecurity. Learning design, and this is what we're going to talk a little bit about today, about learning design, about building and creating content for our students, and some of the ethical and legal considerations. I read an article recently that really resonated with me, ethical considerations in educational technology. And these are a couple of quotes that I found very profound. Ethical considerations in digital education encompasses a spectrum of issues that touch upon the core values of education: privacy, equity, and intellectual property. At the heart of these considerations lies the need to balance technology innovation with a commitment to foster an inclusive, secure, and ethically sound educational environment. One of the most important ethical considerations, the author points out, revolves around the collection, storage, and use of student data. But then he goes a little further. He said, with the increased use of technology, there's a heightened need for ethical consideration, yes, particularly regarding students' privacy. The collection and storage of student data in digital learning environments raises concerns regarding data security and confidentiality. In the digital age of education, where classrooms extend beyond classroom walls into virtual spaces, the paramount concern is protecting sensitive student data and ensuring privacy in an online environment. The Alabama Code of Ethics, and all of us are familiar as educators with the Alabama. If you're not, if you're viewing this presentation from another state, each state has similar codes of ethics. And we want to focus primarily today on the maintenance of confidentiality standard 8. Standard 8 maintenance confidentiality states an educator should comply with the state and federal laws and local school board practices related to confidentiality of student and personal records, standardized test material, and other information covered by confidentiality agreements. So, ethical violations such as sharing student academic and disciplinary records, health and medical information, and family status income can lead to serious consequences. These risks underscore the importance of adhering to ethical standards in digital education. What we're going to see as we go through the discussion that these don't only apply to the educational schoolhouse, the schoolhouse, but also beyond. Some constitutional rights to privacy. We have the First Amendment that guarantees freedom of speech, but also plays a significant role in protecting privacy. We have the Third Amendment. It places restrictions on quartering of soldiers in private homes without the owner's consent. Well, what's the implication here for education? It ensures the sanctity of privacy in private places. The Fourth Amendment prohibits unreasonable search and seizures, which can be applied to student lockers, personal belongings, and digital devices in educational settings, and it also applies to online settings. We can't just search an individual's home. The Amendment 9 addresses rights retained by the people not explicitly enumerated in the Constitution, and of course the Fourth Amendment that all persons naturalized, born in the United States, should not be deprived of property, liberty, and life without due process. And these are some cases. We don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to go through of them, but we have the Tinker in Des Moines, the Butcher and State Board of Greenland, the JS versus Bethlehem Area School District, United States versus Michael Delphin, the United States versus Lori Drew, and each of these cases set precedents for privacy in of individuals and the protection of data. We have FERPA. We all understand FERPA is a federal law that protects the privacy of a student's school records, and this applies to most educational institutions, with the public schools, colleges, and universities. Educational records includes transcripts, class schedules, disciplinary records, and so forth. I want to make sure that we don't look as HIPAA as one of the protections that applies to education. If you see me separately, we can talk about this a little bit, but HIPAA does not apply to student health records maintained by a school. If the school receives federal funds, this is covered under FERPA. All right, maintaining students' privacy in higher education is an integral aspect of learning design and technology integration. It is not only a matter of policy and law, but also a matter of design ethics. Faculty educators and learning designers in higher education play a vital role in maintaining students' privacy by designing learning experiences that rely on online technology integration. Ethics describes a broad space of philosophical inquiry on how we should live and what good life should be. Let's jump down to the third quote. Designer mindset means that a learner's designer should consider themselves as sharing a common ground with professional designers and other designers in other respected disciplines such as architects or architecture as a discipline. A learning designer works in a professional design discipline that has a broad, significant impact on human learning and performance in diverse contexts and on social and general learning designers ought to think about students' privacy as a core issue when deciding on experiences that rely heavily on online technology. And these were quotes that were taken from The Role of Design Ethics in Maintaining Students' Privacy, a call to action to learning designers in higher education. So we have a case study. My role as your director of curriculum and instructor in the School of Graduate Studies, as you know, I have several learning designers who work with me and work for the university. And here we have a case study. And we want to talk about some of the ethical and legal considerations as it applies to this case. So each of you have a handout. You can read it for yourselves. I also will read through this for in your hearing. Sammer, an experienced learning designer at a public university with senior instructional designer job title, is working with Dr. James, a computer science professor, to redesign an introductory Python course to a hybrid format. Dr. James wants to use a new web conference tool that tracks students' eye movements to measure their engagement. He bought a license for this tool, and he wants to use it because he was not satisfied with his teaching experience during the COVID-19 lockdown, saying, I really saw how students were either not paying attention to me while teaching them and how some turned off their computers. It was obvious that they were not paying attention to me, and that's not good learning. I want to require in my course syllabus that all students must turn on their cameras or they will be marked absent from class. Sam is concerned about the implications for this tool, but Dr. James believes it would help him to improve his teaching. Sam knows from previous research studies that tracking eye movements could provide useful insights into student engagement with the materials they interact with on screen. However, with this tool, there are many concerns about privacy, such as potential risk of invasion of one's personal space and detection outcomes of neurodivergent learners. He understands the need to balance the belief with the tool with the ethical implications of its use. So we have a few moments that we're going to talk a little bit about. Thank you for your engagement. So as we learned, the use of this tool could raise questions of equity, penalizing students with low bandwidth or camera shyness, and lead to uneven grading. The use of this tool could be illegal based on the university's IT policies, as someone mentioned. And the use of this tool cannot guarantee engagement. It could sometimes do the opposite. And the use of this tool is putting the students' risk of privacy at risk. Thank you for your feedback. All right. So here's some questions that I'm going to leave us with. Are there gaps in our current policies addressing technology use? How can we better support educators and students in navigating legal and ethical technology use? And what specific risks do we face and how could we mitigate them? These are questions that as a university, the School of Graduate Studies, that we need to address. Thank you for your time. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Dr. Mbira for inviting me to present today as part of the stakeholder presentation series. Um, this morning, I want to present on the legal and ethical considerations in digital